times as you want. Okay. So if you are working along with me, I hope you've got all your things weighed out. So the recipe has, let's read it through, just to check. So we have 75 grams of egg white, 2.5 milliliters of egg white powder, 40 grams of castor sugar, 100 grams of almond flour, and 125 grams of icing sugar. So I'm going to go over all of those ingredients, but that's what you will hopefully have weighed out if you are doing it along with me. I'm just going to quickly double check again to see. Yeah, no, okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so in my bowl here, I'm going to weigh out my 75 grams of egg white. Okay, I haven't actually done this step because I just wanted to do it with you guys, but you may already have done this. So my scale that I have looks like this. It's lost its labels because it's been used so much. But when you switch it on and you put your bowl on it, you want to press it again to put it onto 0. So you can use any bowl on a scale like this, but just put your bowl on and then press it to 0. Okay. If you don't have a scale like that, then just put it on, weigh it into the little bowl as part of the scale. Okay. And I'm going to separate these eggs, put it up in a little container. Okay. So these are normal eggs. I mean, it's an egg. But they are not that fresh. So I know this sounds like a bit counterintuitive. Why would you use something that's not so fresh? But what happens when the egg, so the shell of the egg is slightly porous. So some of the moisture evaporates through the shell of the egg, which causes the inside of the egg to be slightly higher in protein. So some of the liquid is evaporated and you could have a high protein egg. So if you're making meringues or anything like that, you want to use your older eggs that you've got. There are ways to test this. I know how long those ones been sitting there, but usually, like if you're making a fried egg and it's a really nice fresh egg, it will have those like the yolk and then a little blob where the white is and then another little blob where the rest of the white is. If it's an old egg, when you crack it in there, it will just spread everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to start by just putting my egg white into my bowl that I'm measuring. And if you are confident separating your eggs, you can just do it straight into the bowl. If you're not so confident, maybe do it into a separate bowl first and then put your whites in the big bowl. What we don't want is to have yolk in there, and we also don't want a frothed egg. So if your eggs are not that fresh and you're worried, maybe break them into the other one.
On average, how many eggs is 75 grams?
Okay, I think it's going to be about 3.
About 3, okay. So that I'm just trying to work out that at least I can throw the first 2, then I'll be more careful with the third one.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it always comes almost exactly to 3. So there's 2 and it says 50. So I'm sure it's going to be 3. But it also depends on the size of your eggs. These are large eggs, but if you've got jumbos, it might be 2.5. I don't know.
Okay.
I never buy jumbos because they're more expensive. I just buy large, you know. Cheap and cheap. Yeah, so there's my 76. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Okay, excellent. We'll see. Washed. You know, it's not the end of the world. If you need to scoop a bit out with a spoon or with the yolk, with the shell, it's really not the end of the world. Okay, and then these yolks, obviously you can keep them for whatever, custard, scrambled egg, probably what we'll do with them. They keep in the fridge for a couple of days. Stick it in there, get it out the way. Okay. Right, so then this needs to be beaten to a stiff peak. As I said before, I would have normally just used my little hand mixer that mixes straight in the bowl, but because I exploded it, and I tried to get another one yesterday, but no luck. The Pick and Pay did not have any stock, so I'm just going to use this mixer here. Let me just turn it so you can see what we're doing. And I apologize, I might just mute while I'm doing this because it's quite noisy. Okay, so there's, I'm just going to stick them in there. Okay. Okay, so there's my 3 egg whites, and I'm just going to whip them until they are thick. I'm going to just mute because it's so noisy. Hang on, how do I mute?
My 2 eggs are already at 66. I'm saying my 2 eggs are already at 66. We've lost you. No volume. Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
Sorry, I just muted because of the noise. So if you're at 66, just go slowly with that last egg. Just a little bit at a time. Okay, I'm going to mute again. It's very noisy. I just don't want you to.
Not a problem.
Hi, Ursula. Can you hear me?
I am here finally. I was struggling.
I know, sorry, and I was trying to figure out what I was doing. I'm not the best with this tech stuff, but
Neither am
hello.
Julie, I meant to say that is there any other way? Because it seems that you've logged this and then it wouldn't log me in. Like I struggled to get in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I don't know, what other, have you guys used any other different platforms that you prefer?
The platform is okay.
No.
I think it's how you set it up that it wants you to log in order to access the meeting.
Mm.
It wouldn't even take my normal Zoom account. I had to, eventually I decided to log in with my Gmail. So it's now a new account.
Same here.
Oh, that's very frustrating. Sorry.
No problem. So I'm going to get started anyway. I see. Have you started?
Okay, so we kind of started. So basically all I did so far was I separated my 3 eggs and I weighed out 75 grams of egg white.
I've got that.
Okay, and then I've just started whipping it into a stiff peak, but I put myself on mute because it's so noisy. So I don't know if you guys want to catch up to that stage.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I'm actually going to put it back into my. Oh, so you know it's at stiff peak when you can turn your bowl over.
Okay.
Nothing falls out. That's the idea. There it is. I'm just going to put it back into the glass bowl because I think you can see better in the glass bowl what I'm doing. So Ursula, what you missed was
are we supposed to mix it with the castor sugar?
Yes, I'm gonna start adding that now. Sorry, just because of my mixer problems. There we go. Otherwise, you would have to watch me do it with the whisk. There we go. Okay. All right. So there is this just peaks. Let's just read the recipe. I'm not telling you. And then to this, we are going to add the castor sugar. So you can just add the castor sugar while you are whipping if you want. As I say, I just wanted to mute myself while I whipped it. So, okay. So there's my 40 grams of castor sugar. I just want to make sure there's no lumps in it. Obviously, with an electric mixer, it's not really a big deal. The lumps get mixed in anyway. So you don't really need to worry that much. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. It's like making a meringue. And it should give it to you like a little bit of a shine on it. Okay. But you can just do this in one step. I'm just doing it in these 2 steps because of the electric mixer. Okay, so there we go. So now our cast sugar is added in there. I think I'm going to pause at this stage just to wait for you guys to catch up, if that's okay.
Julie, if we have flavoring and coloring, must we add it at this stage?
So you can. I added once I add this dry stuff. I added all that at that stage, but you can add it now. I don't think it makes much difference
into the egg white.
If you want to, yeah.
Okay, it won't.
If the egg white's whipped.
Yes.
Okay.
So it won't affect the consistency of the egg white.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to put in the dry ingredients and basically make it so that our consistency becomes less stiff.
Okay.
So we're going to mix until it is at the stage where it can be piped out and form these little round circles that you want. Okay. So let's just have a look at the almonds. Okay, so I've got my sieve here. We're going to sieve together the 125 grams of icing sugar. I'm not telling you lies. Okay. And the almonds. Okay, so I just, oh, sorry, now I'm going to wait back on. I just.
Please wait for me, Julie. I'm still doing the egg.
Okay,
so
yeah, that's what I said. Let's pause and wait for everyone to get to that point.
So with the eggs, we're whipping the eggs and then we're adding castor sugar to it.
Yes, you can do it at the same time while you're whipping if you want.
Oh, okay.
Time, yeah.
Okay.
How are you, Ishla? Are you well?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just stressing about this, not being able to join. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, with all of this online stuff, it's so hard to like navigate. I don't know.
Yeah, this is interesting. Okay. So just like this, actually not very stiff.
Okay, just wait at that stage. Don't go too far. You don't want it to be too soft. So maybe just wait for us, Ursula.
Okay. Okay.
Because if it gets too overmixed at this stage, you're going to end up with very, very flat little things. They're not going to work nicely.
Hi, Julie, Rukia here.
Yes, hi.
Hi there. The 5 grams of cocoa. Do we add?
Are you going to make a chocolate one?
Yes, I'm adding the 5 grams of cocoa. When do I add it? With the almond flour and icing sugar?
Yes, I would sieve it because cocoa tends to be a bit lumpy. So I would put it in the sieve with that at that stage.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to keep talking if everyone's okay. I won't do anything. So the almond flour that I bought it from Valley Baking, which is a shop here. I know not all of you in Cape Town. So it's already ground up, but sometimes it's quite a little bit like big chunks. The pieces of nuts are quite big, which is why we are going to sieve them out to get just the fine ones. And I know in that WhatsApp group, Boyfela, is it you that booked this morning? So there's somebody here that is not in the WhatsApp group. I will add you, I promise. And you don't have to stay. I just thought it was I was already online. Yeah. So basically, I just set up a WhatsApp group for everyone that's in the class just so that I could share the links and whatever. You don't have to stay in the WhatsApp group after this. I will send the link to the video to the group, and then after that, if you want to leave, you're welcome to leave. I just set them up because it's easier to spread the information to lots of people quickly that way. But anyway, someone in that group was asking, what is the difference between ground almonds and almond. Was it you, Ursula?
It was me, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because my memory is fading fast. But anyway, I'm not actually sure what the difference is, but what you want is the finest possibly ground ones you can see. So if you've got perfect.
Right.
And if you've got a choice, just look for the ones that are the finest ground. If you can't buy it ready-made, so like now you can buy it everywhere, since keto and everyone making it. But when I first started doing all this stuff, you couldn't buy it. Then you would buy blanched almonds and just grind it up in your like grinder. I have a coffee grinder that I use for this. And then anyway, so once I've sieved it, if there's leftover little pieces, I keep them and grind those in the coffee grinder again. I only use the coffee grinder for this, really. It's not for coffee. And then we use them because almonds are so expensive. You don't want to waste anything.
Yeah.
And they really are expensive. Like the cost of these has gone up like exponentially since I started making these. So yeah, you don't want to waste anything. So even if it looks like the pieces are a little bit big to go through the sieve, just keep them for future. When you've got a few together, you can grind them and you'll have those spares. But as I say now, they sell it ready to go and it's quite nice. It's got no skins in it. It's all ready to go. Okay. I'm carrying on with the sieving stage. Okay, so there's my icing sugar and here are my almonds. Just put them together. And obviously the size of the pieces that are going to be left behind will be determined to some extent by the size of your sieve holes. So this sieve I've got has got like quite small holes, but it's actually not the smallest sieve I have. The smallest sieve I have it just gives me grey hairs to try and sieve it through there. But I think you must sieve it whatever sieve you've got. I find in general the cheaper the sieve, the bigger the holes. So even if you just buy a cheapy one, you know, then that will do the job. From Clicks or whatever. I don't know who sells them. Okay, but also sieving it should mix it. So if you're putting your cocoa in, now is the time to do it. You don't have to make chocolate ones. I'm going to talk more about the flavoring in a minute. I'm just going with my vanilla ones for now, or my unflavored ones for right now. And you can see there are the ones left behind. Okay. Sometimes you can get a few more through, but I would not add those ones. I don't know, can you see them? How zoomy can the zoom be? So they are quite, and if you put them in, it's not the end of the world. Of course you can put them in, but it makes your finished product much less smooth and much more kind of grainy. So I'm going to set those ones aside, but don't waste them. Keep them for future, or sprinkle them on your oats or something. I don't know. Don't waste them. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Let me mute myself. They've misplaced my sieve. I'm gonna make a quick call. They're not even in the house.
What?
Oh, sorry, don't mind me. I just need to call my sister. I can't find the sieve. Otherwise, I'm not gonna get smooth almonds. I just need to call her quickly.
Or something's
I'll be
ringing
fine.
here.
I'll be fine. Don't worry. I'll be fine.
I just need to switch out my headphones. These ones are about to run out of battery. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, no, this thing is, I swear, all my gray hairs are probably related to. Can everyone hear me now? Or can
Can hear
anyone
you.
hear me now? Yeah,
I can hear
sweet.
you.
Sorry. Oh my word. Okay. Are we still videoing? We are. Hooray. Okay. Let's just get our shape back. Come on. You can do it. You know, my phone has got so much sugar in it that it doesn't switch between. There we go. Okay. There we go. There we go. Switch between. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Right. I'm going to be editing this video. I can see. Okay. Are we all there? Has everyone done their eggs and sieved their almonds?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to carry on. Everyone okay with it? Don't panic if you're not at the stage. We can always catch up. Okay. None of it is that crucial that you can't, you know, resolve it. Okay. So there is my egg white. And I'm going to add this almond flour with the sugar or whatever in there. And then I'm also, oh, you know what we forgot to add? We forgot to add the dried egg white powder. I'm going to add it now. So this is called Acti White. It's optional, but it does actually just help a little bit. So I'm just going to add in my 2.5 mils of the dried egg white powder. If you don't have it, just leave it. It's not a crisis.
What does that actually do to your egg white?
What it does is, I think maybe I kind of sort of half explained this before you came in. When we use the eggs for this, we want to use our older eggs, okay? Also for meringues. And the reason is that the shell of the egg is slightly porous. So some of the water evaporates out through the egg. And what's left inside is higher in protein because some of the water is evaporated.
Oh.
So if you're using a very fresh egg, then you definitely need to use this Acti White just to help it, because basically what it is dried egg white powder. This is just the protein of the egg. Okay. And it just helps it to firm up, and it just makes it just a little bit more foolproof. Okay. You don't, if you don't have it, just leave it out. It's not a crisis, really, I promise. Okay, but it just helps to make the whole thing a little bit more stable and more protein. So yeah, so the eggs that I use, the woman that taught me to do, she said you should use month-old eggs. Oh. Which seems quite old to me. I don't know. These ones that I was using have been sitting here probably for about a week and a half. And then I don't think they were that fresh to start with, because they were quite flat when I made them the other day. So, you know, I think they're quite good for this. But I also have this problem with getting nice fresh eggs. I don't know, does anyone else have this? Sometimes you get them, they're just not as fresh as you would like them to be. Anyway, if that happens, then that's the time to make your macaroons, I guess. A sieve, hooray!
I must calm down because I'm annoyed that this kids behave like this.
I think we can all calm down. You know, I set aside 2 hours for this, which is actually long for this. So I think just take a time, take a moment. I don't know. I just, when I was now changing out the headphones, I saw Ursula's SMS WhatsApp that said, "Oh no, I can't join." So yeah, I hope no one else is stuck out there. Yes.
Sorry, I'm just a bit confused now. I've got my egg white in my mixing bowl, in my Kenwood mixing bowl, and I've got my almond flour and everything in my glass bowl. So
you just add it to the Kenwood bowl.
Can I add it to the Kenwood bowl and mix it with a whisk?
I would then just not mix it with the whisk, just mix it by hand. But you can just put it in that same bowl. I just moving mine around because I think you can see better with the glass bowl. But if I was just doing this, I would have just done it in that same bowl that I mixed it up in the first place. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so at this stage, so now this is the key bit. This is the important bit. Is everyone paying close attention? Okay, so I usually add my flavoring in now, and I'll tell you in a moment why, and the coloring, because once you start mixing it, if you over mix it, it becomes very soft and it will spread and there'll be these flat little things. And if you under mix it, it doesn't form that nice flat top on the crust on the top of it. Okay, so when you come to the actual mixing part, I would definitely do it by hand. I'm using this funny like spatula thing that I have, but you can use any kind of, even a metal spoon will do it, but any of these kind of things will be fine. I just like this funny looking one. It's my favorite one, what can I say? But I'm going to add the flavoring and the coloring now, because if you've mixed it to the perfect consistency and then you want to add your coloring, it's very easy to overmix it then. You're all with me. So
Yes.
in terms of coloring, I mean flavoring, you've got lots of options that you could use. This one is like a vanilla extract made from the real vanilla whatevers. Or you could use vanilla essence. Where's my vanilla essence? You can see we take our vanilla essence quite seriously here. Enormous bottle. You could add that. You could add, so these are made by a company called Flavor Nation. I've got two here. I've got pistachio and raspberry. You could add that. I'm feeling quite, I don't
Can
know.
we use lemon?
Lemon. So this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling my orange. I don't know, I'm very into orange. So this is just a real orange and my little grater. I'm going to put some of the zest of that in to give it a kind of an orange flavor. But you can use any extract, anything you like. You can just flavor it with something, doesn't matter. I don't know, I just bought these oranges. Lemon's perfect. I actually also love lemon. And we're just putting the zest. We're not going to put any liquid in because we don't want to affect the consistency. We just want to flavor it. So we're just putting zest. Okay. But as I say, you can put anything. There's a whole list of things there as well, isn't there? Yeah, extract, vanilla, mint, orange, etc. The extracts are much more expensive. So I don't know how much I paid for this one, probably about 100 Rand, because they're made from the real thing. These other ones are quite inexpensive. They're made synthetically. Same as vanilla essence. So I don't know, you can go with how your heart feels on that matter. Okay, so there's my orange zest, and because it's orange, I'm going to color it orange. I say that like I know what I'm doing here, but I actually don't know if I have orange in here. Oh my god, what is this thing doing? Sorry, but are we back? Yes, you're back. I have like a reminder on my phone to take my daughter to swimming, which I'm obviously not doing right now. So it keeps ringing. So in general, I would say for the colors, you want to choose a color that kind of conveys what flavor it is. So if you're doing lemon, I would do a yellow macaroon. If I was doing chocolate, obviously the brown cocoa makes it chocolate color, so you don't need to really add anything. If I was making...
Julie?
Yes.
Have you ever made gold macarons? Is it possible?
Yeah, so you just paint them afterwards. I'll show you when we get there. It's actually quite easy.
Okay, I'll make them yellow then.
Yeah, make them yellow and then you can just paint them. Okay, so this is my orange. This one's called electric orange. I'm just going to put a little drop in there. We also, I say that, but is there anything in here? We don't want them to be luminous. They are bright colors, but they're not like... So exercise a little bit of restraint on the color. You can always add a bit more if you feel like you need to. Okay, so now everything basically is in this bowl. I always double check to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Just reading through my recipe again. No, everything's in there. Okay, and now you're going to start folding it. So let me just get a better angle here. There we go. So I'm just going to fold it in as I go. And this can take a few minutes even. I think it says 5 minutes on there. No more than 5 minutes. If you're folding for 5 minutes, that seems quite long to me. I don't know, maybe. I think I did time it once. But all we're doing right now is just mixing everything together. And the more you stir it, the more liquid these egg whites will become, until eventually we get to this consistency where it is runny enough that it will form a nice circle, but it's not so runny that it was just like this little flat thing. Okay. And you want to get all these bits around the side, make sure everything is nicely mixed in. I'm not sure I can talk about mixing for 5 minutes, to be honest. I'm good, but I'm not that good. This one looks like Fanta orange. Okay, so I'm looking at the color. I don't know. I think I might actually add a bit more color. I don't know if you can see. It's not, I mean, it's orange, but it's not that orange. I'm just gonna put another drop of color in there.
I'm playing catch up because I was left behind while searching.
Yes.
So I've got, so it's just, we adding just the color, the almond and icing sugar.
Yes, and your flavoring, whatever that is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you can already see this one is becoming softer. Okay. And this for me is one of the, I don't know, pressure points. What do we call these? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Like places where things can go wrong a bit is at this mixing stage. Okay. Here we go. So it's all quite well mixed. And what I want you to see is that if I kind of smush the top, it starts to flatten out, but it's not flattening out completely yet. Can you see that? So just a little bit more mixing. Okay.
How much of flavoring are we adding?
Oh, I would normally add, it says 2.5 mils. I just added my orange zest that I had.
Yeah,
I didn't.
but I meant the liquid one, 2.5.
So I would just use one little capful.
One,
Isn't the cap 2.5 about?
No, I think it's
I would-
smaller.
I would just use the capful. But that's me. If you want to get your spoon out, obviously, because the 2.5 looks like this, quite small.
Yeah, found it.
Perfect. And also it depends on what the kind of flavoring is, you know. So I had somebody that sent me a text the other day. She said, do you add almond essence to your macaroons? I was like, I don't, because I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, it's very fake. I don't know. And she was like, oh, that's great. That's what I want to hear. But, you know, if you are adding almond essence, I would never put 2.5 in. It's so strong. I would just put like a, yeah, would I put anything? I probably wouldn't. Okay, can you see it here now? So it is, if I leave it, it is flattening out to a kind of flat surface. Is everyone on track with that or understand that? Because that's,
Yes.
I think that's a pressure point. So once you get to that stage, I would stop mixing it. I would just let it be what it is. Okay. Right, and then we're going to put it into a piping bag. So I've got these, let me just change my angle here a bit again. Sorry about the weird noise this thing makes. Okay, I've got these disposable ones, but you can use obviously any piping bag. And I think it was Rukeya who asked about the nozzles. So if you're going to use a nozzle, you would use like an 805 or an 804. Let me just get mine, I'll show you what it looks like. But I don't think you need to have the nozzle. I normally just use it without the nozzle. I just cut a hole in the end. When you're looking for it, you can only find other ones. Okay, this is called a 3R. This is a bit bigger than I would actually use. But it's just a round, straight nozzle. But you don't need the nozzle. I wouldn't use the nozzle. Okay. And we're also going to prepare, I'm just sort of spinning this out so that everyone who's catching up can catch up. We're going to prepare our tins, our trays. So these are just normal baking trays. And I always use this kind of silicone mat, which is reusable. So you just wash it and reuse it as many times as you want. If you don't have something like this, you could use baking paper. Or fantastic, if you have the macaroon tray, even better. Whatever you've got, just use it. I'm very much a believer in using what you find around you. When I say baking paper, I mean Glad Bake or something like that. You can also use Silpat. So let's find one. The Silpat is super expensive. And it looks like this. These ones are huge. They don't actually fit nicely on my tray. So it's like that. And they also make a macaroon one with a little macaroon circle on it, guideline. But I was looking at the prices. They're like 500 rand. I was like, well, you know what? My little mat here it's fine, really fine. And I think we did have the template if you wanted to print it out, or you could just draw yourself a template. So if you wanted to print the template out, you would print it out and put it underneath your thing just as a guideline so you can see what you're doing. If you don't have a printer or didn't print it or don't want to print it or whatever, you can just, let me try a pen, you can just draw it on. And you basically want them to be like 2.5 centimeters wide. So what I would do if I was doing it, I was trying to make myself a template and I wasn't just running around my house like an idiot right now. No, it's too small. I would find the lid of something. There we go. So this is my antihistamine bottle. I would just take the lid of that and use it to make myself a little template. Okay. And it doesn't matter if your size, sorry, mine's not a very round circle. If your size is too big or too small, it can vary a little bit. But what you really want is for them all to be the same, so that your tops and your bottoms match, etc. Okay, so that's an easy way to make your template. Okay, and what you will see on that template is what they call hexagonal close packing, where they go in between each other like this. Okay, so you can get the maximum on the tray if you do it in this format, rather than just in straight rows. Okay, you're all with me?
Yes.
As I said before, you don't have to have a template. It is helpful. As you become more experienced, I think you'll find that it's not really necessary. Although having said that, I also do get some variation. And then you would just put your template underneath your mat. Obviously using the paper, the baking paper is probably the easiest for this one because you can see through more clearly. I can see it, but I'm not sure you can. There we go. Yeah, so you can see them underneath there. I'm also going to put my oven on now because I want the room to warm up a bit. It's warm here, but it's kind of overcast. And the reason for that is at the next stage, we're going to have it resting to form this crust, the croûte. Okay. And the crust is absolutely the most, I don't know, important thing that can happen. So if your room is a little bit warm and a little bit dry, it will go quicker. So I'm going to put my oven on to start warming up and to make my kitchen nice and warm. And I'm putting it on at 180 just to heat it up. Somebody else was asking about the temperature. So in the notes it says 160. In my oven, it's a very hot oven. If I put it at if I put them in and leave them at 180, they become very brown on the outside. It does cook them, but it's fine, but they don't give you that perfect light color. So if you want to maintain your color, I would say lower temperature as your option. And if you have a fan assisted oven or a thermo fan or the option of putting the fan on, I would put it on. I'm just heating it to 180 so that I can get it slightly above the temperature I want, so that when I put them in the oven and open the door, some of the heat will escape, and then I'll turn it down to 160. I'm actually just going to take this camera over to my oven to show you, because I get a lot of questions about ovens. So this is my oven. Wait, can we see there? There we go. I'll make that bigger. Okay. So on my oven, there are options. There we go. The options are this one here, which has, can you see it? Has just like a fan picture. That's the one I use the most. Then there's the option of, sorry, I can't aim, bottom element with fan. top grill with fan, grill only, top and bottom element, or just the light. Sorry, there we go. Here is just the grill settings, and then there are the temperature settings. So the temperature settings on this one, I find quite difficult to see exactly. I've put it onto 180, I hope. But I will turn it down to here to 160 when I'm ready to put it in. Okay. So obviously every oven differs a bit, but just find what's the closest setting on your oven, but something with fan if you have that option.
What if you don't have the fan? I don't have a fan.
Then just put your bottom element on.
Bottom one only.
Is there a choice for just bottom?
Yes.
Okay. So basically the thinking with an oven is unless you want so you don't want the element to be on while the things are in the oven. That's the idea with baking. So what happens basically is that with an old school oven, before they had fans and stuff, it was all fancy, before it was so fancy, we just had the bottom element. You'd heat it up with just the bottom element, and then when it is at the temperature, you put your things in, close the door, and hopefully it will stay more or less at the temperature that you set it at.
Yeah.
You can turn it down slightly because some of the warm air will escape, etc. What you don't want is for the bottom element to be on the whole time, or the top element actually, or any element. So the bottom element usually kind of warms it up, and then it stays hopefully at the right temperature. So if you find that your oven is not staying at the right temperature, it could mean that your oven seal is broken. So have a look around the edge of your oven. There's that kind of rubber seal. If that's perished, the heat is going to escape, and the element is going to keep coming on to try and keep the temperature, which will then cause it to burn at the bottom if it's your bottom element, or top and bottom if it's top and bottom, whatever it is. Okay, so that's something to check. If you find that your oven is very, like it takes forever to cook through, then you need to look at your thermostat, or if it just burns regardless of what you do. So sometimes you set it, but it's not actually at the temperature that you set it at. So you can either replace the thermostat, or you could try and test out to see, because it's not an exact science. So even though it says 180 on the dial, that's not to say that it is really at 180 degrees. Every oven is a bit different. So if you want to be scientific about it, you get a little thermometer and you put it in the oven and you test to see how far away is it from the actual temperature. Or I think it just comes with some kind of experience. Over time, you realize, oh gosh, I need to put it higher to cook this through, or I need to put it lower. And so that's why it's difficult for me to answer a question like what is the right temperature. On my oven, it's much hotter than it says it is. So if I cook like, I don't know, a chicken, the outside crisps up really quickly. Whereas, you know, if I was using another oven, it might take an hour and a half to cook the chicken, or a roast chicken, or whatever. In my oven, it takes whatever. You're with me. You all understand what I'm talking about. So you need to kind of get to know your oven and see what is going to work best for you. Okay. Are we all caught up?
Good.
Julie, can I see your consistency?
Yes. Okay. So there it is.
Okay. Mine is a bit stiff.
So just start working it a bit more. Just mix it a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. Right. I'm going to put it into my piping bag. Okay, so if you haven't used a piping bag before, I'm kind of assuming you all have, but if you haven't, I'm just going to go over it. So I'm going to turn the top down like this. Okay. So the point of that is so that we can fill it without this part of it getting all sticky. Okay, so I'm going to put my hand in that part that I've turned down, and I'm just going to scoop all my mixture into my bag. Okay. And the bag has no hole at the bottom at the moment. It's still sealed at the bottom. I'm going to cut a hole, but only once I've filled it. Okay. And again, this is somebody would say to me once, this is your profit here. So make sure you get all those little bits. You never know, it might be a spare, an extra one. Don't waste anything. And again, because the almonds and things are so expensive, And actually, just to talk about the macaroon cost for a second, I sell them for 18 Rand each, which I think is about average. I don't actually know, I don't buy them that often. But they are very expensive. And I think a lot of people don't really understand why they're so expensive. They're kind of like, it's a biscuit, you know. But it is very much the almonds. Okay, I'm going to turn this back up again.
Julie,
Okay, so there you.
could you please explain the science behind this becoming more fluid when you mix it more? Because I see it's improving.
I actually don't know the science behind that. It's all about the air that you beat in the first place. I think the air starts to come out as you mix it.
Okay.
It starts to go more liquidy. I don't really know why it does that. It just does that.
Okay.
Okay, so,
thank you.
So now the training thing. If you are battling with your consistency, more mixing will make it more liquid. Okay, that's the rule. Yeah, because I mean, you whip it up to get it stiff, and then you mix it, it gets runny. It doesn't make any sense, actually. Okay, and then I've got this little thing, but you can just use your hand. And I'm just going to push it all down again, because we don't want to waste anything. We don't want anything left here in the bag. Yeah. But you can just use your hand. It's just a neat way of doing it. Or you can use a metal spatula, something like that. Right. Then I'm going to put a twist.
How many macarons are you likely to get out of this?
I normally get about 3 trays, which is 10, 12, 14, probably about 8 tray. Let's see. Let me see what I get. Okay, so I'm going to put a tight twist in the back here, so that nothing is escaping from there. And then I'm going to cut a hole at the front here. And I would say don't make the hole too big. It just makes your life difficult. So about that big. I think it says 1 centimeter, but I would say even smaller, actually. You can, again, always cut it bigger if you think you've realized it's too small. But I just find it easier to control it if it's a bit smaller. Okay, and then I'm going to pipe out on my template, which is a bit wonky donkey. I didn't make it in a very good place here. Okay, so fill up the template. Okay, and it will probably spread a little bit once you have filled that circle, which is why you'll see on some of the templates or the ones it will show you like an inside line, a dotted line, and then a solid line around the outside. So the dotted line is where you fill it to, and then it will spread hopefully to the solid line. Okay. But if you hold up your silicone one, I think you'll see, do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the inside circle and the
inside
outside
line and outside line. So at this stage, you're aiming for the inside line. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to keep on piping. Okay. Oh, and if you have an air bubble, just, oh, not great. Because so that air bubble came right as I was piping. Let's make that one a bit wonky. Oh la la. In fact, everything's going wonky. Hold on, let's just take a moment here. So I'm going to pipe 1 tray of just round ones. And then I'm going to show you some other options of making kind of shaped ones. And you want to have hopefully even numbers of these, because you're going to have tops and bottoms. I don't know, my template, I'm a bit off the range because of this weird template I made. Yes, okay, so that's even numbers. Except this guy has problems here. Do you see him? So I'm just going to see if I can reshape it a bit with my finger. Not sure if it will actually work, but To be honest, it doesn't seem very COVID responsible to be touching everything. But okay, let's go with it. And I'm just going to slide my template out from underneath because I don't want to put that in the oven. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bash this. Sorry about the noise. So if you can see, let me zoom in on them. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there are big air bubbles. I can see a few of them just lurking around. So the whole bashing process is to get rid of those big air bubbles. And it should also make them nice and round. Sorry about the noise. So there, I don't know if you can see it, but now it has popped, that big air bubble there. So I can still see where it is, but the actual bubble itself has now popped. Okay, and then we need to leave these to crust. Okay, I'm gonna go put this tray over by my oven to try and get it to crust as quick as possible. So you guys don't have to stand here watching me watch things dry. All right, then you can obviously just make another tray exactly the same. If you want, you can do whatever you want to do with yours. I'm just going to make some kind of like little Mickey Mouse ones and hearts and things just to show you. Actually, maybe I should make a little template for that as well. So if you want to make the Mickey Mouse ones, you just have your circles and then smaller circles up at the top like that, or teddy bears or whatever, something like that. Let me just do number 4. If you want to make hearts, again, I would just make yourself a template just so that it's easier to see what you're doing. Okay. And also, whenever I do these more difficult shapes, I find it very difficult to get matching ones, which is why having a template is quite helpful for that. Alrighty, okay. I hope I've left enough space here. I might have to move my template a bit. Okay, let's see. So circle, and then ear, yeah. And my children always want they want me to make the cute shapes, basically. They're like, it's all about how it looks. Okay, so there's my little teddy ones. Obviously orange flavor and teddies and orange flavor and hearts, that's not really a thing, is it? That's okay, let's do it. I'm just going to freehand a few hearts here because my template's in the wrong place. And obviously because they spread, I would try and make the shape as exaggerated as possible. I found with the hearts sometimes they spread so much that you can't really see what they're supposed to be. So these ones, I think they've already spread a bit much. This one, I did a slightly different way of doing it. I just piped either like a blob and pulled it down and a blob, which I think gives a better shape actually. And again, as long as you've got matching ones, it doesn't really matter. You can just play around with it and see how you like it. And don't make them too close because they do spread a bit. You don't want them to touch. Okay, so I've got a few options. These, I like the look of them better, but I think they're going to be quite small. I don't know, let's bake them and see what we get. I'm just showing you, things that you can try. Okay, so that's my second tray. That's my third tray. Okay. I'm just going to do round ones on this one. It's not going to fill up this whole tray either. Interestingly, normally I get 3 full trays. I think it's because I made the teddy bears. And again, I'm just I'm just smoothing down to get all those bits that are in there. But even with that, I don't think it's going to be a full tray. Oh. Yeah. Right, how are we going? Are we piping?
No piping.
All good.
And these bags, so again, if you were like not me, you could wash them out and reuse them. I'm quite lazy. I almost never reuse my bags, but they are quite expensive. They're like £5 a bag, so it might be worthwhile washing it out and reusing it. Once you put butter, icing and stuff into these bags, then it becomes much more difficult to clean it out because they're greasy. But this macaroon mixture doesn't have any fat in it, so it's quite easy to clean it out. You just soak it in some warm water and hang it up on your washing line to dry. As I say, I'm very bad. I almost never reuse things.
What do we do with them once we're done piping?
So you need to bash them onto the counter a bit to get out the air bubbles, and then just leave it to dry. So mine, let me show you where mine are. Mine are over here on the stove. They're just drying there, and my stove is on, hopefully making it nice and warm and forming its crust. Some of them have really spread. I think I might have overmixed slightly. Tomorrow. Okay. Oh my word, and I've got sticky bits all over me. Let me just wash my hands here. Okay. And then while we are waiting for those to form their crust, we are going to prepare our fillings. I am going to make a butter icing. And then if there's still time, I'm going to show you how to make a water ganache, which is the new trend. It's the newest, latest and greatest. And I'm totally into it because ganache would ordinarily use cream, sorry, something, but this just uses water. So it's very easy to make. You don't need anything special. You just need a bit of chocolate. So I'm going to show you how to do that while we're waiting. Bits of things. Yeah. Nice. Let's give it a clean. How's everybody going there? I don't see any faces. All the faces are hiding. Yes. I can't hear you.
They're not spreading enough to fill the outer circle.
They're not spreading enough. Then you need to just
add a bit more.
Sorry? I can't hear you. I mean, I can, but you're very faint.
Yeah. I was asking if I need to add a bit more. Do I need to add a bit more?
How much have they spread? Is the top flat? Or is the top lumpy?
Flat, yes.
Flat?
Yeah.
Then you can just add a bit more. Or just leave
Okay.
them, make them small ones.
Okay. I'll add a bit more.
So the reason I'm asking that is if the top is not flat, then you need to scrape them up and mix them more, or mix them in the bag a bit just to soften them a bit. If the top is flat, then you can just make them a bit bigger. Then your consistency is right. They just haven't spread that much. Mine has spread a lot. I don't know. I think it's because they stood so long while I was talking. But anyway, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Hi, Julie, quick question.
Yes.
If I need to make 2 different colors, what is your advice?
Yes.
Rather one batch, or can I double up and split it and make it 2 different colors?
I have split the batch. I've split this single small batch into 2. I just do it at the stage. So I sort of mix it a bit so that everything's mixed together. And then I put it into 2 bowls and flavor them and color them separately.
Okay, so you can use one batch to split it into 2 colors.
Definitely. And also depending on what flavors you're doing, if it's one flavor but 2 colors,
yes,
like let's say pink and red, I would take my whole batch, make it pink, pipe the ones you want, and then what's left over, just add a little bit of red. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
Obviously, if it's cocoa and vanilla, you'd have to, you know what I mean? Like then you'd have,
Yeah, and I have to make two separate batches or one batch.
Yeah.
Sorry,
exactly.
I don't know why my video doesn't come up, and the kids ain't here to help me. I'm also not tech savvy, so you've just got to rely on my voice.
Fine, that's fine. As long as you guys I can hear what we are doing and you all know what's going on.
I'm just a bit worried. I added my cocoa.
Yes.
It looks a bit grainy to me. So
like speckly.
Yes. Like almost like as if it's, you know, if you put coconut into an icing or something, and it looks a bit grainy. So I'm not sure if that's correct or whether I should have whipped it a bit more. But
so the cocoa can be grainy like that. Sometimes it improves when it cooks. It like kind of dissolves in when it gets hot. But it might be maybe your almonds? How fine were your almonds?
I don't know. I bought my almonds at Checkers, and it's this Health Connection whole food brand.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yes, it is quite fine. I mean, if I had to remix it again, it would have been a bit too fine. This is a trial and error batch, so as long as it tastes good there, that's all that matters.
I hate to break it to you all, but this is a very trial and error kind of thing.
Yes.
A lot of it is just the way that it feels, the way that it is. So I know it's frustrating because you want to get it perfect the first time. Of course, we all do. But don't be too disillusioned if your first batch isn't 100%. I can't tell you how many batches I made before I got it right. Too many.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I believe this is a little devils of cakes. You can't get it right.
People are always so just to also go back to the first principles again, there are 2 main methods of making these. This is for me the easier one. The other option is to take instead of using icing sugar, you take normal sugar and you make a sugar syrup. So you dissolve it in some water and you boil that up to like soft ball, or I don't actually know, I've never done it. And then you add that syrup, this hot sugar syrup, to your egg whites, which you then whip. It's like making a Swiss meringue or Italian meringue or whatever it's called. But if I see the word sugar syrup, I basically run in the opposite direction. I hate making sugar syrups because they so easily get overcooked, or you get grains in them, or I don't know. It's just very easy to go wrong. Whereas this is, to me, a reasonably foolproof method. It doesn't require any special. You don't need a thermometer and, you know, all of that stuff. Okay, is everyone at the drying stage or at the piping stage still?
Drying stage.
Drying stage, okay. So this part I'm going to do now. You don't have to do with me. You can do it later, or you can do it now if you have your things ready. It's just a butter icing. It's not really that higher grade. It's not really that sounds shaming. It's not really that complicated. And I'm sure most people have made a butter icing at some point in their life. So for macarons, I never know, quite a lot of the flavor comes from what's inside. So the outside, obviously, it has the taste of the almonds and it has whatever flavoring you added to it. But quite a lot of what really like contributes to the way that it tastes is what is the filling. So I usually make either a butter icing or a ganache. I've never seen it done with whipped cream or anything like that. I think it would soften the shells too much and they would just become soggy. So I think it needs to be something with quite a high fat content like a butter icing or a ganache. But you can add fruit, you can add jam. I'll show you when we put them together some of the things that I do with them. This little recipe, I've just measured out just a small quantity. It's 100 grams of butter and 200 grams of icing sugar. And I would ordinarily mix this with the electric mixer that I exploded. So I think I'm just going to do it with a wooden spoon, actually. Let's see how soft this butter is. But you can, of course, do it in your electric mixer. I'm just trying to avoid the noise. So, and obviously, if I do it by hand, then it's not so noisy. So there's our butter. I took it out of the fridge just before we started when I weighed up. It's quite soft now. You can see, obviously, mixing it with the electric mixer. And then I'm going to just sieve this icing sugar because it is quite lumpy. I don't know if you can see those big lumps there. If I was doing this in my electric mixer, I probably wouldn't bother because, you know, the mixer will remove those lumps with its you know, mixing. Okay, so once you've got your butter icing at a nice consistency, it needs to be pipeable. So we might thin it out slightly with a bit of milk or liquid of some kind. I'm going to make this one an orange one just so that it matches with my outside. But you could do all kinds of things, anything really. So I had thought about if I was making an orange outside, you could use marmalade to mix in. If you're into that kind of bitter orange taste, you could use a dark chocolate ganache, so that like orange and dark chocolate combo. You could use some more orange zest and juice, which is probably what I'm going to do. You could do anything really. If you are doing, so obviously you want to have something that complements your outside. So if you've got lemon on the outside, I wouldn't do dark chocolate on the inside. Those don't really go together for me. I would do like maybe white chocolate or just lemon or something maybe fruity with raspberries, you know. So you want something that's going to go with your inside and your outside. Or just, if you're in doubt, just make them the same. So orange and orange or whatever it is. Yeah. Wow, I've forgotten how long this takes by hand. So when I was studying, they made us do everything with our hands like this. And I've become quite lazy in my old age. Okay, so you can see it's starting to come together. I feel sure I'm going to need some liquid. So I think I'm just going to add a few drops of orange juice from that orange that I used the zest of, and maybe a bit more zest, I don't know. So I love zest. Zest for me is like, it just gives it such a delicious kind of strong taste. And I feel like we're going into winter. Well, I don't know, it's been quite wintry here. You know, the sort of oranges and winter fruits, naartjies. I don't know, I'm quite into that. Lemons. And then I'm just going to make a few drops of orange juice. And we don't want it to be so runny. Oopsie. Oh, la, la. We don't want it to be so runny that it is that you can't pipe it, because we're going to pipe it into these macaroons. So I probably won't use all of that juice. Just a few drops. Yeah. And it smells absolutely delicious, I must say. It smells like fresh deliciousness. And just to go back to this crust, so what we're waiting for is for the surface of the macaroon to be dry to the touch so that I can touch the top without it becoming stuck to my finger. I'm going to go over there now and have a little test. But that's what we're hoping for. Yeah, so there's my icing. You can see now it's come together. Obviously, in the electric mixer, it would whip it a bit more. Let me see if I can put some warmer in. There we go. And the more you whip it, the more pale and soft the consistency will become. Okay. There we go. And again, you could color this depending on how you want it to look. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. The outsides of mine are quite orange. I think it'll be a nice contrast. But if you wanted the inside to also be orange, you could add orange coloring to it, whatever you fancy, really. Okay. Right, let's go over and look at those crusts now. Okay. So this is the teddy bear page. See, they've lost their shape a little bit. They have spread quite a lot. If you look at this one here, you can almost not see its shape anymore. And when I touch it, it is still a bit sticky. Can you see it's kind of coming away? Another few minutes. These guys also spread. I think my mix just stood a bit long because I was talking so much. Okay, these ones are almost crusted. I'm just going to wait another like 2 minutes and then I'm going to stick them in. And this very much depends on your weather. So if your weather is very humid, you'll need to wait longer. And rather just wait longer, even if it means waiting an hour or whatever, just wait until that crust has formed. Because if you try to cook it without the crust, you'll just get a crack at the top. Okay. Right. Okay. So since hello.
I've got swimming at some 11:30. So then if we say we can leave it for an hour, it means I can just leave them like this and then put them in the oven when I get back. Would that work?
I think it probably would work.
The lesson is like 20 minutes long.
It's not first prize, but I think it would work. I would rather do that than do it before the crust is formed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
I have in the past, especially when we've had classes and there's lots of people and lots of different consistencies, we've left them long.
Yeah, it's still...
And they were fine. Still tacky. What time is it? Okay, so it's 10:30 now. Yeah, so we need to, kind of get them in the oven if we're going to finish this by 11. Right, okay. I'm also going to show you this water ganache if you guys are up for it. Anyone? So you don't have to make this. You can just watch me make it. I'm going to make, what am I going to make? White chocolate. Let's see what's in the pot.
White chocolate.
White chocolate.
Okay.
Or dark chocolate. I think chocolate.
Okay. Okay.
Let's make dark chocolate. It goes well with orange. But it works the same whether you're doing white chocolate and making a difference to the recipe. Okay. And then I'm going to measure out 170 grams of chocolate into my little bowl here. Yeah. I'm also going to boil the kettle because we need to add warm water to this. You can be, okay. And I'm going to put this into the microwave on low power for like 2 minutes just to melt this chocolate. Sorry, I'm running out of battery. Hold on, just plug in. So I'm going to melt this in the microwave. If you don't have, or depending on what kind of microwave you have, I would put it on to like 30% power or defrost or something that's like a lower power than you would have if you were making a normal like microwave thing. You were just reheating. On my microwave, I can't take you there because now it should be plugged in. Maybe I can just show you. No. Anyway, on my microwave, it has an option for like 30% power, basically. Oh dear, now there we go. Okay. I'm also going to just boil my kettle because we need warm water for this. But basically, once the 170 grams of chocolate is melted, we're going to add 28 grams of water, hot water, warm water. And we're going to stir it until it creates this ganache. And it feels like, I've always been taught through all these years that you should never ever add water to chocolate, and it feels like it's going to go curdly, which it kind of does, but then it comes back to life and it becomes like a lovely smooth chocolate ganache. So it's very easy to make, and as I said before, you don't need cream and stuff. It's my new favorite thing to make, I think. So when we pipe these into this butter icing or the ganache, I don't know if the ganache will be set enough for me to pipe it in. I'm going to also just pipe it in with a bag. If you want to have a cute outside like design, you can use a nozzle, a star nozzle. I'm going to go and set you a few options. Let me just check on my chocolate. Okay, so there's my chocolate. It's warm, but it hasn't melted yet. So I'm just going to put it for another like minute or so on the low power. And in terms of piping, so you can use just your bag with the end cut off in the same way that we've used it now. Or you can use something, this is a little closed star. You can use something like this. I think I'm gonna use that one. He's quite cute for me. I'm gonna use him. But it just makes the edge look a bit more attractive because we've got like a bit of a ruffle coming out of the edge. But you don't, so you don't have to do that. It's totally fine if you just cut the end off again like we did before. Okay. I'm just getting my things ready. So I'm going to cut this off here. I'm going to put my nozzle in there. There it is. And you always just want to make sure that the plastic is not touching onto the sort of edges of the nozzle. There we go. I hear my chocolate calling me. I think I see what's happening. Okay, so there's my chocolate. I think it probably is melted enough now. I think if I just stir it, it will continue melting and those last pieces will melt. My hand's right in the way. There we go. And then once it's melted, we'll add the water. Yeah, I'm suffering from bad impatience here. I'm just going to put it back for another couple of seconds. All right, so if you're measuring something in milliliters, if it's water or something that's similar to water, theoretically it should be a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 gram is equal to 1 milliliter. If it's something like oil, which is less dense than water, then it's not true anymore. But if it's something like, I don't know, maybe yogurt, it probably isn't true either. But anything that's water or watery-ish, it should be close enough in terms of baking. So when this tells you to measure out 28 grams of water, that should technically be 28 milliliters. Measuring 28 milliliters is quite difficult, so I'm going to go with the grams. Okay, so I'm going to put my scale onto 0 and hopefully not mess it up because now it's on video. Okay, it's 30, 31. Okay, and there it is. So now I've added my water and I'm just going to stir. And I don't know if you can see it's becoming really thick and kind of lumpy. Just keep stirring, oopsie. Gone right out of them. And the white chocolate one I made, it came together so quickly. The dark chocolate seems to come a bit longer, but you just keep stirring until you get this smooth consistency. So you can see it's still a bit lumpy. Just keep stirring it. And it works just the same as normal ganache. You just can melt it in the microwave again. It's brilliant. I love it. I don't know if you can see there, it's got a few lumps, but it's starting to come to like a smooth consistency. I don't know if you can see that. The white chocolate went like, I've only made it with white chocolate before. I don't know why I'm making dark chocolate on a video when I haven't actually done it before. But the white chocolate one came together with a few stirs. It didn't really form those lumps at all. Here we go. So I don't know if you can see that. Nice, beautiful ganache. Okay. Couldn't be easier. And my problem with the cream ganache is you always have to have cream in the house to make it. And I've been finding sometimes when I buy my cream from the supermarket, the best befores aren't great. So, you know, I'll buy it and I normally use it on Friday and I've shopped on Monday, but by Friday it's off. And it's so irritating with that beautiful ganache. Yeah, perfection. All right, so that's a bit runny to put into my macaroons, but I'm sure as it sets, as it cools down, it will set a bit. I might just fill some of those later for you, and so you can see what they look like if it's not set enough. Right, okay, so we've got some fillings now. We're ready to go. I'm gonna go and stick these little babies in the oven. Sorry, I'm gonna have to, I hope you don't get the low battery warning in. So let's have a feel. You'll see. You can see it's not coming away with my finger anymore. I go back to this guy. I always try and test on the same one again. So if I've messed it up, I don't keep messing up more. This tray I think might need a bit long. Oh no, it seems okay. Okay, so I'm going to put them in the oven. And I can fit all my trays in at the same time because I've got a big oven. But if you can't, just do one at a time. Start with the first one you baked and when you cut. And now I'm turning it down to 160. And I'm going to put my timer on for 15 minutes. I actually don't know what it says in the recipe there. Sometimes they take longer. Sometimes it's 15 minutes isn't enough. But I like to just check them because sometimes, especially the ones, I don't know why I put them on that side. Actually, let me move them. The ones on the right-hand side of my oven where the fan comes out tend to discolor more quickly than the ones on the left-hand side. So then you get the edge ones are going quite brown on the outside before the middle ones are cooked through. Okay. I'm going to just carry on getting myself ready to fill them. Obviously, you can't fill them when they're hot. So I might have to fill them and then just send you a picture of what they look like. But let's see what we can do. I'm going to put my orange icing into my piping bag. I just want to show you the method. I should have made some beforehand. Okay, so there's my orange icing. Okay. Let's just pretend for a moment that these circles are just pretend that those little circles are your macaroons. I'm just going to do one. So, oh, here we go with the battery again, sorry. Right, so all you will do is you will pipe around the outside and then you can sandwich it together. I've left a little gap in the middle there because I quite like to, I only have blueberry though, which is not a great match for what we've got. But I quite like to put a little scoop of jam in there. which is why I was thinking of the marmalade as being an option. But I don't really know if people actually like marmalade.
Beautiful Saturday morning. It doesn't get better than this. Look what we're making. Some macaroons. I will share with you guys the final picture when I'm done. How beautiful are these? Look at this color. I just love it, but it's gonna be even more exciting once.
Are we Instagramming? Anyway, so what I was going to say is, so then I would sandwich it together and it's a little surprise inside. You get a little bite of jam. And I like, well, jam actually is very sweet, but sometimes the butter icing, you just want something to cut through that sweetness a little bit. And I don't think you can just put jam because I think it would just ooze up the side. So you need to have a little place for the jam to be. Okay. You can also flavor your icing with jam as a part of your flavoring. So if you took your butter icing and you added a bit of jam to it, that's an option. Or like a fruit puree or something. Okay, so that's all you really have to do for the sandwiching. Or you can just cut a hole and pipe it in. Either of those options are great. And you don't have to have the surprise inside. It's just one extra way of doing things. Okay, and then I just want to talk about the golding, the gold, because we did sort of touch on that. And while we're waiting, I might as well explain. Let me just get my things. So for gold, and I'm sure some of you will have actually even done this with me even. So just ignore me if I'm repeating myself. So this is just, there's lots of different ones. This one's called bronze gold. There's lots, there are different shades of gold, but it comes as a powder like this. And you've got a few options. Option number one is to just use the dust. So you would just sort of dry brush it onto your macaroon to make it gold like that. You can also make a little bit of a paint. You don't want to make your macaroon crust wet after it's baked. So we use this, or I use this thing called quick paint, but you could use vodka or something like that instead. It needs to be kind of alcohol based so it evaporates and doesn't make the crust wet. So I'm just mixing a little bit of my gold in with there. I don't know if you can see that, but that makes a kind of a paint. So with that paint, you could paint onto them. I don't know if you can see the difference here on this sheet. Yeah, you can actually. So that's the paint. With the paint, you can also do kind of splatters. So you can do those type of things. I don't know if you can see them. Like you just want a few little splatters. Or sometimes I see it where they've got like a kind of a fine brush stroke. So I can also hear my children having a sort of semi meltdown. Sorry about that. So I have this funny looking brush here. Sorry, I'm stitching my things. Looks like that, which gives quite a nice effect if you just want to have a few kind of streaks of gold, if that makes sense. I'll mark up a few different looks for you with the ones when they come out of the oven, and I'll take some photos and send them and show you the different things I did. But if you want them to be completely gold, I would just dry brush them.
Okay.
The color underneath is very bright, in which case you might need to paint them. Here come the.
Yeah, I think that's why I made them yellow, so that I can be able to add gold easier.
Yeah, the ladies are on the screen, doll.
They have to come.
Julie,
I'm sorry, my children are making a big noise here.
Julie, could you please let me in on the cell phone? I'm gonna start driving. I'm trying to log on the cell phone. Just accept me. Then
there we go. Is it working?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. I think it's loading now.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not ready for this brave new world we live in. Not even a little.
Yeah. Julie, quick question.
Yes.
Shla here. I was just wondering with the gold, can you use the airbrush?
You absolutely can use the airbrush, yes. The only
And-
slight question I have is, would it blow them away? You might need to just pin them down with a little toothpick or something, because they're quite light. I wonder. I don't know, I've never
Yes.
used it, but you definitely can use the airbrush, yes.
Okay, and with the gold, you just use that quick paint and the powder.
Paint and powder. And gold in the airbrush, the problem is always that the gold and the silver and those things tend to clog up the nozzle. So it can be quite
Yes.
frustrating to airbrush something gold. You may
Yeah.
need to kind of clean your nozzle out a few times as you're doing it.
I was wondering why that happened.
It's a pain. So what I do if I have that problem is I just put my finger over the end of the nozzle. So if it's spraying out there, I just put it back, and then it forces the air to go backwards through it.
Oh,
Sometimes it
okay.
explodes a bit at the top, so just do it somewhere like by the sink or something. But
Okay.
usually that clears it, and then you can start
Okay.
spraying again, because it's so frustrating to have.
Yeah, I know. Every time you have to clean it.
It's very
And also,
irritating.
do you have to use vodka, or can you use this quick paint instead of vodka?
So the quick paint is, I think, not dissimilar from vodka. It says here denatured alcohol. I don't know what that actually means.
Yeah,
And I doubt very much that it is halal.
yeah.
But having said that, you know, if you look at the, sorry, I'm off track now. You can use them interchangeably. But if you look at this vanilla essence, it has its little halal marking on, but it also
Yeah.
has this extra neutral ethanol. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. This does not have a halal stamp on it. So alternatives would be to use an essence or something. I don't know how that works in the airbrush though.
No, okay. I don't have a problem with using alcohol.
No. I'm thinking
So-
more Rukia might. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just judging
So-
entirely on her name.
Yeah. So either the quick paint or the vodka.
Or the vodka. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, you could spray water through it, but I think you get a lot of splatter.
Ah. Okay.
Thank you for that, Julie. I think I will just do, if I do the gold, I will just brush it on.
That's why I think the brushing is the best option then, because you don't have to have anything with it.
Yeah, yeah. Just it's
And-
just for effect, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
So I get those questions a lot, and I'm not really sure what the answers are always. Okay, I'm going to go look at my things. I'm unplugging us again. We're going to get the low battery in a minute, but let's just go have a peep at them. Okay, so it has been 10 minutes about, but I can smell them, which is why I want to look at them. So let's have a look here. There's some nice problems. Let's look. Okay. I'm just going to take them out so you can see onto what. Okay. Right. Okay. So these cracked ones, can you see them? That is because the crack had not fully formed. That was my last one that I did. And the crack comes from moisture. So you need to dry them long and low to get the moisture out, which is again why we use the old eggs. We add the extra protein, whatever. The rest on this tray actually look fine. This tray is exactly what I thought it would be. It's a little bit overspread. So you can see these dudes are joining. They're now kissing cousins or whatever we call them, which I always thought was a really weird thing to call them. But we can see that there is the croute here. It's at the bottom. You want to see that little foot thing forming. So those, you know, that's okay. In a way, I'm quite glad to see that there are problems. So the way that you find out if they're done is you kind of flick them up. If they're not coming off the tray, they're not done. They need to go back in. Okay. Okay. And also, so obviously I was rushing and I put all of them in. I was aware when I put that last small tray in that it was not completely dry. Well, I thought it was dry, but I could have guessed that it wasn't completely dry. So if you're in doubt, rather wait longer. Like we said, you know, wait till after swimming rather than than having it crack. Okay. And the cracks are 100% because it hadn't dried long enough. Okay, how are we going? Has anyone else put this in the oven yet?
I have. They're looking good.
Good.
One
Okay, good.
problem is it's kind of got a peak in the middle from when I piped it.
I think that might form into a crack eventually.
They're not
We can
cracking
see.
around. You know,
Well, that's good. That's good.
rain peak.
So the peak, if you get a peak, it could be that your mixture isn't mixed enough, so it's not flattening itself out. But if you do get a peak, just take your finger with a bit of water and just push down before you form the crust. So because sometimes they do, you just have a little peak.
I thought it would settle once I knock it, but it didn't actually.
Didn't.
Okay, but they look good.
Anyone else got theirs in the oven?
Yes, I've got mine in the oven as well. I also have the little bump on top. Yes, and it looks like a little feet. I'm too scared to open up that oven. I've still got 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. I'll post pictures later on the group.
Yeah. I think what we want to do really is look at pictures and discuss where we might have gone wrong, because it's very hard for me to see what you guys are doing. I find this very challenging, to be honest.
No, but it looks much better than I anticipated. It looks like a macaroon. So
Excellent.
the taste is going to be there. But a nice cup of tea will solve that problem as well. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Does anyone have any questions while we're waiting?
Julie?
Yes.
I'm hoping for the best with mine. The first time I tried this, it was on my own, and literally they were like crunchy.
They're meant to be crunchy.
Yeah, but macaroon has got that special texture. Mine were like, crunchy, made with coconut. The texture was like that. It was like a proper cookie.
Okay. I think you've already just cooked them a bit long then.
Okay.
So what you want is it for it to be a bit soft in the middle. You want the outside to be like a crusty shell and the inside to be a bit soft. So I'm thinking if it was fully crusty or crunchy, that you just cooked it a little bit too long.
Oh, okay, maybe. Okay.
So it fully dried out. So, and again, this is kind of up to your own discretion, because so the lady that taught me to do this, she made hers like fully dried out and crunchy, and her reasoning was that she's putting the filling in, and she had a little shop, so then they would sit on the shelf for a few days and absorb the moisture from the filling, and then the outside crust would become softer. So I think it's a matter of, on some level, of discretion of how crunchy you want it.
Okay.
It just needs to be, for me, it just needs to be able to come away from the tray. Then it is cooked. That's all I'm waiting for. I don't put it back in after that or anything. My beeper has beeped. I'm going to go back and look. I don't think they're done. I don't know. So they've gone quite dark as well, or maybe it's just the lighting. Oh, yeah. So this is my first tray. Let's see. So what we're looking for is that we can kind of flick them off. Oh, I've broken it. Definitely not done. You can see it's still stuck on the tray, quite firmly actually. So I would say probably another 5, maybe longer, even minutes. I'm just going to stick them back in. I can look at them just now. Which I know is not, everybody wants an exact time, but I can't give you an exact time. I think it depends on your, sorry, what have I done? There we go. It depends on your oven, how big your macaroons are, etc.
Okay, sorry, Julie.
Yes.
I took mine out and I just pulled the baking paper slightly away and it just flopped over. So I guess that's properly baked then.
Yes, that sounds great. That sounds perfect.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. And another question, can we eat it today, or must it be in the fridge for 24 hours, or for the flavor?
You can eat so you can't ice it until it's cool, but they cool very quickly. They cool within a few minutes, really, because they're so small. Then you can put your icing in and sandwich them, and you can eat them straight away.
Okay.
And I would say they would keep for at least a week. I actually had some that I made them intending to take photos of them, but then I ran out of time, and they sat in my fridge for more than a week. And my children were like, "Oh, can we eat these?" I was like, "I wouldn't eat those. They've been there for ages." But they ate them, and they were actually fine. So they keep quite well.
So what's this storage? Should it be in the fridge, or can we leave it outside, room temperature?
So I think it depends on your filling. So if your filling is something that has cream or that could potentially go off, then I would keep it in the fridge. Otherwise, just on the bench is fine. I have seen at the baking shop Cab Foods here near me, they sell them frozen, ready to go. So I think you could probably freeze them if you can store them without them getting squashed.
Okay, but you store them filled. If you put it in the fridge, you store them.
I would store them filled.
Yeah.
If actually, you're right. If you want to store them unfilled, I think they keep long. If you put them in a Tupperware, you could keep them for a few weeks, I would think, if you hadn't put the filling in yet.
Yes, okay.
You know, if you want to prepare for something ahead of time and you've got a big order or something, you could make a whole bunch, just keep them in a nice airtight container and then fill them when you need them.
And just bring them to room temperature before you fill them.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Oh dear, sorry, I didn't plug in the battery again, sorry. Okay. Loretta, were you making along with us? Oh, she's sitting, now she's hiding from me. So, I'm just gonna have another peep at them, see what they're doing. These ones are really dry. Oh my word. Of course, my ones I did on the video are the worst looking ones I've made. It does smell very delicious here though, I must say. Right, so I think I'm going to wrap this up for right now. I'm going to just double check these, they're almost done. And then I'm going to leave them to cool and I'm just going to fill them and I'll send you a picture of what they look like. If everyone's okay with that, or even a video if you want.
Thank you.
I think the hard part, I think we've done the hard parts. Is everyone feeling strong about this?
Yes, but definitely. But I don't think I'll use cocoa again. It still looks a bit grainy to me, but
grainy.
Well in error.
I have the
Please do a
same.
video on when you pipe it into the macaroon, please, Julie.
Yes, okay, no problem. I'll do a video.
Yes, thank you very much for this wonderful lesson. I appreciate it.
Cool, no problem. And I will send a link to this video. I might edit it a bit just to remove all the things where we're saying, can anyone hear me? You know.
No problem.
But it takes a few days, but I can send you the raw link in the meantime if you need to see it between now and Monday or whatever.
Yes,
but if you have any other questions, please just send them to the group or send them directly to me. I'm always happy to help. If you've got pictures of what you made, send them, then we can look and see and discuss.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Julie. Keep well.
Awesome.
Please remember to add me to the WhatsApp group.
I'm gonna do it right now. I'll do it right now.
And thank you so much. Listen, I'm really hoping for the best. I'm still suffering from trauma from the first try.
Yes, you know, I used to feel the same actually. I had a bit of trauma as well. I'm having trauma right now because my things have cracks in and I'm like the teacher. But can I also just say, take your time. You know, I rushed it a bit because I wanted to get it in the oven to show you, but you know, take your time, let it rest, let it set.
Thank you. We'll definitely share pictures.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna, how do I do this? Stop the video. No, that's not what I meant. Oh my word, what is happening here? Okay, I'm going to end this meeting. I'll chat to you all. I'll make a video later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Right, hello everybody. This is just a quick follow on from the class we had this morning, just to talk about how we color these and fill them. So you can see there are my shells ready to go. They actually got a bit dark in the end, and they've lost their orange color that they had a little bit. So I think actually coloring them with some gold dust would definitely be a lovely idea. So option number one is just to dry dust them. They look like that. Or you can paint them or splatter. So I'm using this little brush that I used earlier. Give it a kind of a stripy vibe. Or you could, here's another one, just kind of, splash it on. I haven't got enough liquid to splash, there we go. To give it a kind of a splashy vibe. Okay. But whatever you choose to do, or you can just leave them plain, especially if your color is nice and vibrant. Then for the filling, I'm going to do one with butter icing. This is the orange butter icing I made earlier. So I'm just going to pipe it around. I'm going right up to the edge. And then you put your little lid on. Okay, that's quite a lot of filling. I think that might be a bit too much, although it does look quite cute. This is the ganache I made earlier. I'm going to do the ganache with a bit of a jam filling. So for this one, oh, it's firmed up. I warmed it slightly in the microwave to make it sort of pipeable, but it's become quite firm. Okay, and a little drop of jam, just for a bit of something something. And there you go. Okay. A little burger. And there you have it. Please send us your pictures so we can see what you've made.